How you going, everyone? I'm Angus from a company called SwarmFarm Robotics. We do agricultural robotics, so I'm going to talk about how we're using ClickHouse to scale with all our telemetry data across our fleet. So a bit of background. We're based here in Australia. We make robotic, autonomous sprayers, mowers, full robotic platform in agriculture. We've got about 100 commercially running out there, mainly in broadacre. We've farmed almost 1 million acres, almost 200,000 engine hours, and our biggest sort of market is camera sprayers. So using cameras in broadacre, identifying weeds, and then only spraying the weeds that they see. So cuts down a lot of chemical. Our machines can be a lot smaller than the large majority of big tractors that are 30 tonnes. Ours are only about 3 or 4. So yeah, we build the full robotic platform and then pair with a Swarm Connect partners. So whoever wants to put behind our robot, whatever the customer wants. So our machines out in the field, they produce a lot of data, a lot of weather data, temperature, wind, location, usage data, all the metrics from the engine, a lot of operation data, working, idle, sleep, job information, spray records, etc., and then a whole bunch of logging information. A big part of it, because it's autonomous, there's no one out there behind the wheel, so no one knows what's going on with it. So it's all about stuff goes wrong, we want to be able to piece back together from the data, be able to look into it remotely, not have to have someone drive 5 hours out into the middle of New South Wales to debug something. So it's been a big part of our stuff is to pull as much information off as possible that we can piece together. But then a big restriction of that is also out there's not much phone signal, so our bandwidth is very limited. So we have to be very selective of what we're pulling off. So there's lots of data, not probably compared to a lot of the other bigger companies that are processing that much a day, but for us, as a small startup, it was a lot coming in. You can see all the different data coming in when we have all our robots running. Logging has been a big part of that. We've been looking at Starlink as a solution to put on the robots, which has been great. The little mini one, if you've seen, they've just released. We're trialling a couple of those, they've been great. So hopefully that will enable us to do a lot more data. So a big part of autonomous systems is, working out what, when, where and why. So as I said, from the customer's perspective, they want to know that their robot's actually working, applying the chemical in the right spot. They want to know the efficiency, they want to know it's working. And then from us, as I said, we want to know what's wrong. We want to know remotely, before even the farmer knows about it, and understand what's going wrong. And then also a lot of business analytics stuff as well. So being able to work out, are we increasing productivity with our software releases? Can we monitor that? Can we identify that as well? So yeah, a bit more technical stuff here. This was our previous pipeline of getting the data off the robots. They were all of them run a Ubuntu machine on the robot, spread across the country. So what we had set up was Redis. So anything program on there would pump stuff into Redis. We'd had a custom C++ connector pumping that data into AWS. Bit of a nightmare to debug. And then we took a bit of a punt on DocumentDB, which was sort of the wrong choice. As you see, it fell behind of Mongo updates, thanks Amazon. And then into Node.js as a backend, and then into React as the client. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of points of failure, cross-code languages as well, so it's hard to know. You've got to bring 1 or 2 people in. If you identify the point of failure, you might have to refer to someone else. So it was always just a pain to deal with. And we sort of trialed Mongo Atlas with their time series data, but again, not too optimized with what we're trying to do. So this is the new pipeline we came up with at the start of the year. Vector, if anyone else heard of Vector.dev, they've been awesome. It's a great pipeline tool. So simple to set up. We have that on running on all our machines now, and any of our programs pump straight into that. They've got a sync going straight into ClickHouse. We don't have to worry about that. It handles all the buffering, everything on the machine. So the robot goes out of service. They just queue up on disk. Robot turns off. We know we're not going to lose any data. It's been very good to set up. It's got some cool transforms as well. You can do a bit of stuff in there on the fly. And then ClickHouse. So pumping that straight into ClickHouse Cloud, doing up our tables. A lot of people know it here, so it's been great. And then moving to Next.js with this React server components has been great as well. Being able to have a full data layer directly in our components. We're a pretty small team, so having so many less moving parts, we can just move on to actually solving the problems that we want for the customers, and this just works. So this has been great. It's that simple. I've pretty much got the code we use. You can put it on one screen. Like the vector config you define just in YAML or TOML, just as a HTTP endpoint that they can hit. The client can just designate what table they want it to go to, and that's what that transform does. So we don't have to have multiple vector configs. We can just have the one. ClickHouse, obviously you know that. It's been great to set up all our tables, defining everything, make sure everything's connected. And then of course Next.js, being able to query the database directly in your component has been so great, not having to manage a whole other server, setting up a whole API endpoints. You just have one data layer, and as I said before, as a small team managing that, it's dead simple, and we get all our robots, 100, and then once we start scaling out into the thousands, we can pretty well trust that the data off that is going straight into ClickHouse, and then our front-end dashboards can see it easily, so not having to worry about scaling it into the future. So there's a bit of an example of some of the data that we're displaying to the customers and sort of the complexities of it. So when you're spraying, weather conditions are really important to monitor. The customer's able to set the limits. They want to not spray when it gets too hot, not spray when it gets too windy, and all that kind of stuff. So from all the data going into ClickHouse, we're able to pull from multiple sources. You got your spray records, you got your weather, you got your operation data, you got your engine job, and then we can actually start processing it a fair bit and identifying some cool stuff. So you probably see operating hours, 76%. Customer might see that, like, why is my robot running as efficient? But using the combined spray window, you can see for most of that time, the delta T, it was not correct. So then the actual spray window that we hit was 90%. So there's a lot more information we can chop and show and put that back to the customer so they can see, okay, my robot was actually operating and you know exact reason why it wasn't. So yeah, that query there is pretty quick. That was one of the ones where I was sort of hoping to use some materialized views, was one of the main reasons I looked at ClickHouse, to pre-process a lot of data. Turns out the queries I was using just worked fast anyway, so I didn't even need any of that. We might in the future as we get more and more data, but for now, yeah, bunch of tables, bunch of inner joins, lots of arithmetic stuff, and it's quick. Here's another function query that we're using, which we can identify pretty quickly what's stopping the robot. So that's helpful for us to go, all right, what do we need to focus on in the next week or two? We can process it, we can look at our state changes, we can pick up when it stopped, when it went back to work, find out the event that caused it, and yeah, we're using some lead-in window functions there, lead-in frame, which has been good. I think some new support there. So that's been good to play around with as well. Again, less than a second, it's just, yeah, fast by default, which is cool. I was digging around in all the functions there the other day as well, and I pulled this one up and was pretty amazed at how much compression you can get from ClickHouse as well. Like, we've got a fair bit of data in there, but you're seeing compression rates of over 95%. Like, that's insane, that all the data can be compressed down that much. So we've got nothing to worry about there. So yeah, a few pros and cons. Yeah, the documentation, articles, blog posts have been great. There's so much in there. You just got to dig around a bit. So there's lots of examples, lots of situations, like I think one of the inner join articles, they did a 4 blog post one. I go back to that weekly just because it's really well set out with their article, the pictures, everything explaining it. The support has been great as well. We've queried a bunch of stuff as we've learnt, trying to optimize stuff. They've been very knowledgeable, very responsive, which is great. The community has been great as well, obviously with the events they're putting on, the training as well. A few in our team have utilised the training a fair bit as well, which has been great. The new console, dark mode, so that's been really good as well. It's very easy to have all your queries in there, save them, test them, explore new stuff. Your product or your CEO comes with you an idea of, oh, why is that robot stopping? Or I've got this crazy query. You can sit down, piece it throughout, get it going, and then you throw it straight on your website, and it's been great. A few cons. The console AI, still haven't got it picking up anything useful when debugging stuff. I'm sure it will get there anyway. And then identifying slow queries. Coming from Mongo, they've got a ton of dashboards for monitoring slow queries. You can go in, see the exact query, pull it out, whatnot. I'm sure in the systems table there's a lot of information there that I haven't found yet, but I do miss that a bit coming from Mongo. What's next? We want to look at a bit of open telemetry stuff. I know ClickHouse has got a fair bit of support there. We want to see what that would look like for us, pulling all our software together into better traces, helping us debug stuff quicker. We're going to bring in a lot more data soon with our weed maps, so we'll be able to identify every weed that was sprayed and that exact location and time and all the information around it. So we're going to have that all in the ClickHouse, and we'll have to see how it goes with all that location data. The CHDB, I've been keeping an eye on that library for a while. Still trying to work out how we can use it and see if it's useful. Be cool to start doing some processing directly on our SwarmBots, whatnot. So I'll be interested to give that a go. And then Vector, there's probably a few things there. We would like a bit more observability around buffer size, how long stuff stays in the buffer, etc. Even doing some throttling of the networks. But that would be cool to do next. And yeah, that's about me. I was going to bring up, we'll see, I think we might have one of the robots running and do a bit of a demo. I can bring it up. Oh, probably need some internet. Give me 1 sec. Oh, and of course I need to enter my password. Zoom out a little bit. So we'll see if I can do this. Always the joys. That's a bit better. So here you can see we have a number of robots running at the moment, live. So yeah, spread across top of New South Wales, Queensland. There's about 13 running at the moment. you can see a good spread of where they all are. We've got a decent spread, so a bit of everywhere. And let's see if we can grab one that's running. So yeah, that one's running completely autonomous right now, out on a paddock somewhere, doing its thing while the farmer's in having lunch, dinner, I guess. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I guess one more thing, a bit more with ClickHouse. I can show you we've got our live data coming in. So that pipeline I showed before, going into Vector, going into ClickHouse, and then we just do a bit of polling. So our support team can just jump on here and just keep an eye on any data that's coming in live. And that whole pipeline, as I said before, is just from those couple of bits of code. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you.